Now, I'm not gonna lie, if there's a game in which character creation is put in place, I chose to play as a female. Not really because I want to see them naked and being sexy, although I admit that is a strong benefit of it, but playing as men is just boring. Hell, as much as I love the anger issue galore Doom guy, I would prefer to play as Doom Girl, if it can be done, or Doom Lady. This one looks really cute, I love it. Maybe the next game will pull off some sort of a Metroid-style twist. I don't know, I just really want to play as Doom Girl. And no, I'm not gonna like straight up demand Bethesda to do it, or go to Bethesda or id Software and hold someone hostage unless they actually make it. Surprised no feminists even do this sort of thing. Oh, and before we continue this video, special cute love to Alexander Morel from Patreon. You are fantastic. Anyway, there's a strange appeal and perspective shift when playing as a female, especially in RPG games when your role and your character is important in the story. Your sex might also give some consequences and also benefits, so hold your sexist bullets for a moment. Characters might treat you differently if you're another sex. They either treat you better or treat you worse, depending on the context or the situation. This sort of sex dynamics make the game feel a lot more alive. Yes, I also mean that literally. And I know some of you might think that it's sexist, but it's just reality that there are some people or groups or organizations that will treat you differently if you are a different sex, and some things are gonna only fit for one sex and some are gonna fit for another. If you want to put yourself on fire, you can just ask a nearby feminist what they think of men. That is, unless you're about as fuckable as Ryan Gosling, in which they might give a couple of exceptions. Anyway, that's my answer on why I play as women, because playing as men in general is just boring. I mean, the main purpose of RPG games is that you roleplay as a character. You want that character to be special and exciting. You want to play a role of a character that you cannot do in real world, while simultaneously project little bits of your personality in there, or maybe not at all. RPG games do this for decades, and they won't stop doing it, and I appreciate them for giving these wonderful options. I do find that playing as women in RPG games have greatly enhanced my experience on playing the game. It makes role-playing even more fun. And sometimes sexier, I admit. Now, the article today asked the question on why would men play as women in video games? Well, there are a multitude of reasons, and my reason is I personally thought playing as men is just boring. Are there people who play as women just to jack off to their sexy armors? Yes, they are, and I admit that it is a bonus when you play as a female character that is sexy and attractive, but it's one of the many reasons. It's not the only reason why they do it. Unfortunately, the feminists assume that there's only one and only one reason for men to play as women, and they're gonna criticize men who play as women for specifically that reason, except they're targeting all men and making generalizations and oversimplifying things. The one thing the game developers need to learn is to never ever please these people. Why? Because they really cannot make up their minds. Make a video game with a male protagonist. Oh no, horrible racism, sexism. Okay, give the option to play as both men and women. Apparently it's not enough. We need a direct 50-50 representation of female-only games and male-only games. We need more games that we can only play as women. Alright, what about those games? Can men play games of whose playable characters are only women?
The real reason men play video games as women.
Well, if you want to answer that question, we have this anonymous article. I'm gonna keep this anonymous because the writer sets the blog to private at the time of writing, which is totally fine, but her arguments still stand. So, let's read it together, shall we?
Some men claim they play female characters so they can stare at a polygonal pixelated ass all day. Some claim they do it because women have more developed personalities. And some claim they do it because they don't fit the social criteria expected of men, so they feel more comfortable of expressing themselves as women.
Or they just play as women because it's fun.
While there may be an element of truth to all of these, I don't claim the world at large is lacking in exceptions. I am publicly calling bullshit. Men play women characters to control women.
What? What?
Your so-called club activities are nothing more than debasing macho fantasies. I promise you, we will bring you guys down. All hail Super Club!
Well, technically speaking, it is correct. We are playing a video game in which we are controlling a woman, but the woman that we're controlling here is obviously fictional and not real women. It's just 3D rendered characters. We're not actually controlling real life women. Are you saying that there's a conspiracy among men that are going to control women and make them their puppets for their own desires?
These men are all after my money. There isn't a single person who truly loves me for who I am.
Why is paranoia a very common thing throughout my videos? It's like dealing with Kenji in a mirror universe.
The most obvious example of this is the man who likes to dress his female character in close to nothing and swivel the camera angles around while making his character do a pole dancing emote.
Yeah, there are people who do that. Are you worried that gamers who do this will take over and control real-life women? Wahahaha. Well, you can at least provide statistics that the rapes are getting higher or the number of pedophiles and sales of video games are rising. So, where are the statistics? Nothing? Just your feeling? Okay. Now, I am absolutely perverted. I make sex jokes a lot throughout the history of my channel. The broadcast can sometimes go way beyond that, but being perverted doesn't always equal, oh my god, rapist. There are some perverts that are rapists, but most people are not rapists. People who played Saints Row 4 went through the player character literally stripping for them when they modified their female character. When I get to that, if I'm being ironic, I would say, oh my god, that is so freaking hot, but in reality, it's not. My dick is not really hard. So I changed it into something that, okay, it didn't really make my dick hard, but at least it did make me chuckle.
Gangnam Style.
Mister, what you call 'em, what you doing tonight?
Oh crap, I think I just proved your point. Men are playing video games to assume control of women. Wow. In that case, I think video games are evil. Video games is such a powerful tool that it can enslave women to do whatever man wants. I mean, that is horrible. Hey, Claire, do you want to be my girlfriend?
No way.
Okay, can you just give me a minute? Okay, Claire, I'm going to ask you one more question, and I want you to be honest with me. Do you want to spank me, kick me in the balls, strip me naked, strip yourself naked, and finally suck my dick?
While this may appear to be the crudest example, it is the least offensive to me. We all get turned on by specific anatomical features. I will admit to spending a lot of time washing my hands in the girls' bathroom at Red Robin's in the Provo Town Central Mall simply because of the multiple pictures of shirtless men hanging on the wall. Why can't all Red Robins be like that? It's nothing to be ashamed of.
Oh, so it's okay when you do it.
I should have seen it coming. I should have read the signs.
And it's refreshing to hear a couple of my guy friends fully admitting they play catgirls because they are hot. Because, let's be honest, if you were playing a sneaky female assassin, wouldn't a size A bust be much more efficient than a size C or D? And how many flat-chest female fantasy characters do we see out there?
Okay, it's not really that fair knowing that her criticism mostly centers on the fact that most women are busty and they're overly represented in fiction form. But previous examples show some of the characters that are major characters in their own stories and have flat chests themselves. And even if flat-chested characters don't exist, so what? Sure, big boobs look impractical, but it looks sexy, and sexy is good. And most men prefer good. Most men prefer sexy. Are you advocating for more badass, flat-chested women? Not that I disagree, that's a very good endorsement to the flat justice community, but I would be a little bit more appreciative if you're a bit more honest about it. So just for a little bit of transition, I'm gonna show you a very funny clip from Nier Automata's developer. The developer just made 2B to be in her absolutely beautiful design just because
女の子が好きなだけです。
that's it. No reason needed. Do you really need any reason beyond 2B is beautiful? Do you need any more reason why women in fiction have sexy, revealing clothings? It looks beautiful. It looks sexy. It looks appealing. It is impractical, sure, but it looks cool. And in fantasy, looking cool is definitely going to win the crowds. Wait a second, the way you complain about this. Emmy, is that you?
Her dress is screaming, I'm young and available. And the form-fitting cut is there to emphasize her dildos are huge.
What are huge?
Nothing, pervert! I said nothing! Besides, big ones just get in your way when you're fighting in a battle. Small ones mean small armor, which saves money and means you're less constricted in your movements.
I think you've lost me.
Just forget it!
Sexy pixels aside, there is a much more potent underlying concern with men playing female characters. It is a common belief that men who play role-playing video games have a hard time existing in the real social world. In some ways or another, they just don't make the cut when it comes to expectations for masculinity.
What? Are you saying that all men who play as female characters don't conform into the society's expectations of masculinity? As in, all men who play as female in video games are beta males? Well, here's the thing. In role-playing, everybody wants to play as characters that are better than them in real life. Because everybody, on average, are average. We don't roleplay as ourselves unless the game is specifically about roleplaying as ourselves. We create characters that have superior power or intellect or have magics or skills that are, of course, better than us because we are not special. We want to roleplay as someone special. That is fun. That is the fun part. Obviously, the characters that you roleplay as are not going to be representative of yourself, or at least not entirely. Benedict Cumberbatch plays Sherlock, but he's not as smart as Sherlock. And since everybody is not special, not everybody will have a hard time existing in the real social world. Did you know that Vin Diesel is an avid Dungeons & Dragons player?
According to my friend, many guys deal with this issue by role-playing as females in order to expand their own personas. It is his argument that women can both create and destroy, thus making them much more versatile than the man, who can apparently only destroy.
Well, you're hanging with the sorts of friend who thinks that way. Beta men. So I won't judge, but me personally, I don't roleplay to expand my own inner feelings and personas. I roleplay because it's fun. Why is that so complicated for you? Why do you have a very depressing mindset on people who play video games or roleplay as certain characters? It's like calling people like you a bunch of tired, pathetic, lonely feminists who drool and slick over at models of shirtless men over a nearby shopping mall. If that's what you want to be, I have no problem, as long as you don't bash us for the things that you are doing. Except you're bashing us for the things that you are doing.
You are one pathetic loser.
I want to quote directly from his blog, as the way he worded his arguments really illustrate my concern. He said, "Women are complex. They can be the virginal maiden or the powerful femme fatale. This is a notion that exists in the very core of human thought in our society. Women have two roles to play, the virgin or the femme fatale. Both of these have everything to do with sex. When a man plays a female character, whether he plans to play the virginal maiden or the femme fatale, he's taking control of her sexuality."
I think what he's trying to say here is that women are complex. And here are two archetypes showing that they are not just one personality, but two examples are admittedly way too weak. I would give like 3 or 4 or 5 and later say or any of the 5 or all of the 5 or none of the 5 or any other combinations that I didn't think on the top of my head because like I said, they are complex. And to answer your last point, just because that's what he thinks doesn't mean that that's what men think.
So back to the original question at hand. Why do men roleplay female characters? Because they like that women can think for themselves? Hardly. It's because they like that they are in control. If the type of men that play role-playing games are the type that have lost the control the society dictates they must have as men, then it makes perfect sense that these men gravitate towards role-playing female characters. It is the only way they gain back the control they are told they must have.
Or they just roleplay as women because it's fun.
Just because you glued the controller to my hands doesn't mean I want to play.
I want to end by saying I made this post blunt on purpose. I know many will have an initial gut reaction to say, hey, that's not true, I would never. But instead of taking this as a personal attack on you as an individual, think of it as a commentary on universal reality.
Okay, even if you are correct, even if you are right that men are role-playing as women in video games because they want to take hegemony over them, are you going to report this to the police? 911? Yes, sir, I need help. There's a guy who abuses the living hell out of women. He literally dropped this poor girl out of the airplane from like hundreds of feet.
You may think you are an exception, but we all grew up in the same male-dominated society. It's a part of your psyche, whether you care to admit it or not. And recognizing this reality, despite how offensive it might be, it is better to everyone than pretending it doesn't exist.
That entire paragraph reads, "You are oppressing me. If you disagree with me, that just proves you're oppressing me." Thank you, V, for this phrase. Much appreciated. Sorry, lady, but you can't just slap the word reality without actually representing it accurately. Now, your version of reality is men are playing as women in video games because they want to control women in real life. That is your worldview. I disagree that your worldview is representative of reality, but by virtue of me disagreeing with you, that just proves that I am a part of the problem in your worldview. Well, that is fine. If this is how you think men are when playing as women in video games, I'm just going to make this simple. I wish you and Kenji from Katawa Shoujo can marry and make cute little babies with the face of Alex Jones. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead and click like button and subscribe for more. If you wish, you can support me on Patreon. And thanks for watching.